Hi guys, we're jumping into day 11 notes. So again, make sure you have your pencil, paper, your supplies ready to go. We're going to be doing simplifying complex expressions. Let's start with a little warm-up. We're going to practice this thing called foiling. Foiling is going to be, and let's do a little acronym here. First, so I'm going to do my first term, and then O is for outside. Oops, outside. And then the I stands for inner. And then the L, so I'm just spelling out that foil, the L stands for last. So first, outside, inside, or inner, and last. So let's just start here with problem A. What I'm going to do is basically, FOIL is like distribute. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to distribute the thing on the outside in. So negative 3x times x squared is negative 3x cubed. Negative 3x times negative 1 becomes, and be careful, becomes a positive 3x. Okay, problem B. This is more of your true FOIL. Problem B, we're going to do the first two terms. So I'm going to do my purple arrow. First two terms, x times x is x squared. Then I'm going to do my outside terms. Oops. Let's do purple again. Outside terms is x times 4. That's 4x. Then I'm going to do my inner or my inside terms. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Then I'm going to do my last. L is for last. My last two terms is negative 3 times 4, which is negative 12. The only other thing you need to do here is combine like terms. And in the middle there, where I underline them orange, those are like terms. 4x minus 3x is negative 1x. I'm sorry, positive 1x, and then minus 12. And that is how we're going to FOIL. And then this one is a repeat, so you can skip that. Okay, we're going to get to foiling and getting some of those in a little bit, but just, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to do adding today, subtracting today, and kind of a type of multiplying and dividing, okay? But let's focus on adding here first. So I have two binomials with I, so imaginary in there, and the first thing that I notice, and I'm highlighting it for you, and the first thing I notice is that I'm going to add them. Adding is the easiest one because all you have to do when you're adding them is you need to combine together the numbers. So 3 minus 2 is 1, and combine together the i's. 2i minus 5i is negative 3i. And that's it. You're basically combining like terms for that. So again, let's look at this next one. I notice in between I have a plus sign, so that means I add them. And when I add them, all I have to do is take the numbers, add them, combine them together. 4 plus 5 is 9. And take the I terms. Negative 3i minus 4i is negative 7i. And then that's it. One little side note, I'm going to write this in the middle here. I'm going to say always write as a plus bi. So do you see how I wrote these two problems? The number goes first and then the I goes second. It's just the proper standard form. Okay, let's keep going because these next ones are going to shift on us and they're a little bit more challenging. So the next ones shift on us because I have a minus sign. So now this means I'm going to subtract. And when I subtract, that means I'm going to have to distribute. So see this negative sign? It needs to go to the stuff behind it. So I put my purple arrows. I'm going to drop down the negative 5. I'm going to drop down the 4i. The 2 becomes a negative 2, and the I becomes a negative I because I distributed the negative. And now I'm looking for like terms. So just like the other one, I'm going to combine the negative 5 and negative 2. That's negative 7. And I'm going to combine 4i minus I. That's positive 3i. And then that's it. So this one is not so bad. You have one extra step in the beginning, but otherwise it's kind of the same. Okay, my next one, I have a minus sign. All right, that means I have to subtract. So when I subtract, I have to distribute. So let's write this out. 6 drops down, minus 9i drops down. The 4 becomes a negative, and the negative 5i changes to a positive 5i. And then I combine numbers with numbers. 6 minus 4 is 2, and the i's with i's. Negative 9i plus 5i is going to be negative 4i. So the first 2 problems we're adding. The second 2 problems we're subtracting. The next 2 problems we're going to do is the multiplying, which is going to bring us to the foiling. Okay, so this problem, I see that in between here, and there's really no space. In between there, there's nothing. That means I'm going to FOIL. So I'm going to do, F stands for first, so I'm going to do the first terms. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Then I'm going to do the outside terms. Negative 5 times I is negative 5i. Then I'm going to do I, that's inside. So my inside terms, 4i plus 2 is 8i. Then I'm going to do my L last terms, 4i times I. Be careful. That's positive 4i squared. So I FOILed it. Okay, there's 2 things to make note of and a little catch to this problem. In the middle, I have like terms. I'm going to do that. I also have to pay attention, and this is new, to this I squared. I squared equals negative 1. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop down the negative 10. I'm going to combine the i's in the middle. Negative 5i plus 8i. Plus 8i is positive 3i. I have the plus 4. And see that part that I circled? I'm going to put negative 1 there instead. I swap it out. I replace it because it equals negative 1. Now what I need to do is I need to do 4 times negative 1. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Now I just have 2 numbers that I need to combine. Negative 10 and negative 4 is negative 14, and then plus 3i. And now I have my final answer. So the FOILing, the multiplying has a little bit more work. Let's do another. So I notice that these are right next to each other. That means I have to multiply, I have to FOIL. So I'm going to do first, 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. Then I'm going to do outside, 6 times I is 6i. Then I'm going to do inner, inside, negative 3i minus times negative 5. It has a minus 5. That's going to be a positive 15i. And then negative 3i times I is negative 3i squared. Okay, that was just the FOILing. 2 things here. In the middle, I have like terms. I'm going to combine those. And then I squared is equal to negative 1. Okay, I squared is equal to negative 1. And let's make that look a little nicer. So when I combine these, I drop down the negative 30. In the middle, I combine those to be a positive 21i. And then I have the negative 3. And I put a negative 1 next to that because I swapped those out. They're interchangeable. So let's clean this up. So negative 3 times negative 1, I'll do that first where I have it green. I have negative 30 plus 21i. Negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. Then I have the numbers. Negative 30 plus 3. Just add those up. That's going to be negative 27 and then plus 21i. And that's my final answer. So those were 2 on multiplying. And we're going to finish our last 2, which is more kind of division style-ish. This is what we call multiplying by the conjugate. Okay, I just really wanted to show you guys this. So what this means is you don't want an imaginary number in the denominator, essentially. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply the top of this fraction by 7 minus I and the bottom by 7 minus I. And I didn't just make that up. See how that's the same as the bottom, except for instead of a plus sign, I do a minus sign. So that's where I got this from. So let me rewrite this. So on the top, I have 6 times 7 minus I. On the bottom, I have 7 plus I times 7 minus I. And it'll always kind of, look like that. So on the top, I need to distribute. So on the top, I'm going to distribute. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times negative I is negative 6I. And on the bottom, I need to FOIL. So I'm going to go a little bit faster here. First terms. 7 times 7 is 49. That was the F. O is outside terms. 7 times negative 1 is negative 7I. Inside terms, I times 7 is positive 7I. In last terms, I times negative I is negative I squared. Okay, just like the other problems, I'm going to clean it up. You should notice something's going to happen. See negative 7I and positive 7I, that's going to match, and those are going to cancel out. And then if you remember, I squared is equal to negative 1. So let's clean this up. On the top, I have 42 minus 6I. On the bottom, I have 49. The 7s, those are gone. I canceled those out. I have a negative, and then I put in a negative 1. Okay, let's keep cleaning this up. On the top, I have 42 minus 6I. On the bottom, I have 49. Negative times negative 1, or 2 negatives make me a positive. So I really have a positive 1. So again, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep scrolling down. I have 42 on the top minus 6I. On the bottom, I have 50. On the bottom, I have 50. Okay, I know like on the ACT, SAT, things like that, they usually separate this into two fractions. So they do 42 over 50 on the one side minus 6I over 50 on the other, and then they reduce the fractions. So then they reduce the fractions, meaning how can I reduce this yellow one? Well, I can reduce it by 2. 2 goes into 42 21 times. 2 goes into 50 25 times. And then they figure out, how can I reduce this blue one? Well, 2 again. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 50 25 times. And that would be usually how you say an answer, especially like on ACT or SAT. Okay, let's do one more. I'm going to go a little bit faster. Okay, on the bottom of the fraction, I have 2 plus I. So that means I'm going to multiply by 2 minus I and 2 minus I. Just the part on the bottom. So when I write this out, I have 3 minus I times 2 minus I. On the bottom, I have 2 plus I times 2 minus I. And on top, I have to FOIL. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times negative I is negative 3I. Negative I times 2 is negative 2I. Negative I times negative I is positive I squared. Do the same thing, FOIL the bottom. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative I is negative 2I. I times 2 is positive 2I. I times negative I is negative I squared. And I know I did the foiling like super, super fast, so make sure you know how to FOIL that, or just pause on that and do it yourself and check your work. 2 things, or maybe more than that, a few things to make note of. On the top, I have like terms, so I'm going to combine those, and on the bottom, those are going to cancel again. You need to remember that I squared is equal to negative 1. So let's fix all this. On the top, I have 6. That's going to become negative 5I plus negative 1. On the bottom, I have 4, and the minus, and then negative 1. Let's keep cleaning this up because I have a lot of numbers going on. On the top, I technically have 6 minus 1. 6 minus 1 is 5, minus 5I. On the bottom, I technically have 4 plus 1, which is 5. And you can separate this out into your 2 fractions. 5 over 5 minus 5I over 5. Let's reduce this first one. 5 over 5 is just 1. And on this other one, 5 over 5 again is just 1, but that one has an I next to it. And I know it's kind of weird, crazy how that worked out, but that would be your very final answer.